Speaking of upsets, Brandon, Leon Edwards. What a
Oh,
one he had in August. Now he has a rematch in London, in Londra. Let's talk about this. I'm pretty excited. That is one of my favorite fights. As a casual UFC fan, I have never quite had a feeling in sports as excited as somebody as I saw Leon Edwards with a improbable knockout. It wasn't Rocky style because Rocky didn't win. Something we haven't quite seen in some time.
yeah. So John is alluding to UFC 286 in London, England, out of the O2. It's happening this Saturday evening, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Uh, so the headliner is, you know what? No, I'm going to start from, I'm just going to talk about a couple matchups before that, and then I'll build up to the headliner. So starting off the card, well, a couple guys to watch in the prelims. Muhammad Makayev, he's an up and coming flyweight. He's been talking a lot, so he's just a guy to keep an eye on. Jack Shore moving up a weight class, 16-1. He's a fun prospect. He's headlining the prelims. Excuse me. And then opening up the pay-per-view, we got highly ranked middleweight contest. Marvin Vittori versus Roman Dolidze. I think I'm saying his name right, from out of Georgia. Not Georgia, the state, Georgia, the country. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, Marvin, Italian born guy. Uh, you would think I'd be a bigger fan being Italian, but I'm really not. His fighting style is kind of very lackluster. Uh, this fight is hard to predict. I'm not super familiar with Roman. He's had some impressive wins in the UFC. Marvin's fought the much tougher competition. I would think Marvin's going to be able to get it done, probably by decision, if I would have to guess. Next up, you got Casey O'Neill returning after a layoff. I think she tore her a ligament in her knee last year. She's an undefeated flyweight prospect, 9-0, taking on Jennifer Maia, who's a former championship contender. She fought Valentina for the title. Actually, won a round on Valentina when Valentina was dominating everybody. I expect Casey O'Neill to get the job done. She's a highly touted prospect. I'm excited for her. This women's flyweight division is the best. Shout out Ariel Hawani. He was right. The women's flyweight division is the best women's division in MMA right now. It's the most exciting. It's got the deepest talent, the most interesting storyline. So I'm hoping Casey can get the job done because that just makes the flyweights even more enticing to watch. Then we got the return of Gunnar Nelson taking on Brian Barberena. This is more just a straight up. We got a grappler in Gunner taking on a brawler in Barberena. So it's kind of be a style, very interesting styles matchup. If Gunner's able to get the takedowns, he's probably going to be able to win this fight, possibly wrap up a submission. If Barberena is able to keep Gunner on his back foot, defend the takedowns, he's probably going to get the job done. So it depends on which way you see that fight going. Uh, with these fights, these are just the fun fan favorite fights. Hard to really predict what's going to happen. Maybe Gunner doesn't shoot for the takedowns. Maybe he just gives the fans what they want, a stand up fight. He's fully capable. The co-main event, which actually low key I'm kind of more hyped for. This is kind of like the people's main event in my opinion, even though they're in London. Just in the highlight reel, Gaethje taking on Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev he's a dangerous man. 12-1. He's finished his last two opponents. One of them being RDA late in the fifth round. He's been calling for this Gaethje fight for a while. The lightweight division has been very stagnant. These guys have been just really the top contenders have just been fighting each other over and over and over again. And it's kind of gotten repetitive. So we're starting to see some newer matchups out there. I'm not that I'm rooting against Gaethje to lose, but I'm rooting for more fresh blood in this lightweight division. Listen, Gaethje's always going to put on a phenomenal performance. He's called the highlight reel for a reason. This guy is a guy who likes to stand in the middle of the octagon and stand and bang. He's going to throw everything he's got. He will, take one to give one. He does not care. This is a fight is going to be action packed from start to finish. I expect. I don't expect this to go to the ground at all unless somebody just gets a knockdown because these guys are not grapplers. They're pure strikers. Now, Gaethje is more reckless abandon guy, brawler, while Fiziev is more of the technical tactician guy. relies more on speed and precision and accuracy than power and just pure aggression like Gaethje does. So I really this is I see Fiziev being able to catch Gaethje, and I think he's going to be able to finish him. I'm not going to stamp my approval on that because Gaethje's a tough SOB. If this was maybe 5 rounds, maybe Fiziev would have been able to get the finish. But I expect an action-packed fight. I think this is going to be fight of the night. Has a chance to be fight of the year candidate. I got Fiziev being able to win that fight. Then we talk about the main event, the fight in which this card was built on. The reigning defending champion, brand new champion of the welterweight division, Leon Rocky Edwards from England, is taking on the former long reigning champion, Kamaru Usman. This is the trilogy in this fight. Their first fight happened back in 2015. I've said this before. Both fighters were very different from what they are now. Back then, they were basic versions of themselves right now. Usman was a strict wrestler and Leon was a strict striker. That's what they were back then. And Usman was able to get the job done, unanimous decision, 3-round fight, just grind on him, take him down, beat him up against the cage. Very similar kind of to how the fight was going for majority of the rounds in their rematch. But now Usman has developed a nice jab and become a little bit better at the striking game. He's still basics, but he's developed a nice jab, and as long as you got a good jab, other things will open up for you very well. Leon, on the other hand, has improved very nicely in his grappling and his wrestling, more his wrestling defense. We did see his offensive wrestling. He was able to take Usman down in their rematch in the first round, which was a surprise to everybody, including me. Did not see that coming. Now, we go back to their second fight, and I know John, you watched the whole fight, I'm pretty sure. So in the second fight back in August, they fought in Utah. Now, if you guys know anything about Utah, the altitude is different over there. So Leon, before the fight, was saying he showed up, I believe, 2 weeks before the fight to get himself acclimated, and he was on an interview maybe 5 days before the fight, and he said, I showed up 2 weeks early. The altitude isn't affecting me. I'm not, nothing's going on. I'm feeling good and whatever. Then the fight happens, right? He wins round 1, surprisingly. Gets the takedown, able to control him, land some good shots. I think he actually was landed all his shots in that round if you look at the fight stats. But then after that, he just looked like a completely different fighter. He looked demoralized. He looked shot. He had no answer for Usman after the first round. And Leon attributed that to the altitude. He believed the altitude really, really affected him in the fight. Now, I just told you that he said he showed up 2 weeks before, and he said that it was not affecting him. So you take that however you want to take that, right? Now, from 2, 3, 4, and 4 minutes of round 5, Usman dominated. He was able to clinch Leon up against the cage, land some shots, take Leon down, control him, and that's really it. He was just be able to basically just dominate position, control him. And then you go into the 5th round. If Herb Dean, the referee, doesn't break up the final clinch between Usman and Leon, that goes the final minute. Usman retains his title, winning 4 rounds to 1, 49-46 unanimous decision, and he's and still champion. But Herb did break it up with about 1 minute and 12 seconds, maybe something like that left. And Usman did not re-engage the takedown or the clinch, which was an error on his part, because they gave Leon the opening to land a beautiful technique. I mean, not taking anything away from that. He feinted the shot and then threw a beautiful head kick because Usman put his hands down and kind of leaned a little to the right. Headshot, pound for pound, dead. right? That's the quote that he gave after the fight. Great quote. Really great quote, actually. I give Leon the credit for the preparation of that kick because there were footage before the fight that he was preparing that exact combo. And I understand. And when I say that it was lucky, I'm not saying the technique or the skill wasn't lucky, right? I'm saying the kick at that point in the fight, getting the exact look that he wanted after trying to get it the entire fight, that was lucky, right? Because I don't think that's going to happen again.
There's nothing wrong with that either. It's just fortunate. It
No,
has to be the right
yes,
setup, right preparation. He took full advantage.
yep. I mean, everybody knows the definition of luck or what they say about luck. It's when what is it? Preparation and
Opportunity meet.
an opportunity meet in the middle, right? So fair play to him. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying in that exact moment, a lot of things had to go right for that head kick to land. Now going into the third fight, it's in London. I expect Usman to honestly dominate the fight. I'm going to be honest with you. I expect a much more heavy wrestling and clinch game. I don't think that he's going to make the mistake that he did last time. I can't ignore what happened for 19 minutes, a little bit more than 19 minutes of a 25-minute fight. I can't ignore it. I can't ignore what happened in their first fight, even though it was in 2015. I can't ignore that. The majority of the fight, Kamaru Usman was dominating and winning. I now with Leon though, right? He has a shot. I'm not gonna. Everybody's got a shot. He's got a real shot. I mean, he freaking knocked the guy out clean, cold. 7 months ago, I think it is. It is now. He said the altitude screwed him, and why he didn't look good and didn't perform the way he wanted. If that's the truth, right? If that is the truth, then on his worst day, he was still able to get the finish on Usman, right? So you would expect that now, possibly on his best day or one of his best days, it should be a much easier fight for him, a much more competitive fight. I'm not saying he's going to get the finish, but he should be able to win, I believe. Now there's no excuses though. You're in your home country. You're on your own soil. I look at it. He's the better striker overall, right? There's no question about that. I believe he's the better offensive grappler. I believe defensive grappling, they're kind of equal. Wrestling is obviously Kamaru Usman. Leon has a chance, but I say Usman by unanimous decision and new. And I do believe this. There's a possibility of a retirement after this fight if he does win, or loses. I do think Usman might walk away very soon, if not this fight, very soon. But that's how I see it. I see Usman winning by unanimous decision and getting his title back.
I would like to say, I expect the same thing. I think Guzman wins this. My prediction. Does it go the full five? We'll see. But that was one of the greatest moments in UFC history, too. And even if Usman dominates Leon this upcoming fight, it won't even matter because we're always going to remember this 10, 15, 20 years from now. The second fight between these two was one of the most miraculous moments, not only in combat sports, but I feel like in all sports history. Maybe that's a little bit, hyperbolic to say, but to me, as a football and basketball fan, it truly was. And you made a great point. Usman dominated on the grounds. Like, Leon was not as comfortable, and if Kamara can really take advantage of that and doesn't back out of that, just asserts his will on the ground, on his own home soil, I think this could be finished in 3 or 4 rounds. Just dominates him. And that's not crazy to say because, they're the same size. He's actually 2 inches shorter, but he is just way more comfortable, especially against the cage as well. And you can see a clear mismatch in that part of the fight.
Yep. We're gonna really find out if the altitude had a real reason, if that was the reason. We're gonna find out. Like the talk has been done, right?